Greetings out there. It's Dave Duford from Final Expense Agent Mentor at feagentmentor.com. And today we are doing a very informative, detail-driven, and really a good alternative, I guess you could say, way to market for final expense that you probably have never heard of, nor that's really talked about. And what better way of sharing how this method actually works than speaking with somebody who's actually done it firsthand. And so I've got my agent David from Tennessee on the line here today. How you doing today, David?
Great. Good talking to you, Dave.
You too.
Always.
And Dave is going to kind of be our guidepost to describing exactly what this quote-unquote alternative marketing approach is like. Again, it's nothing unlike what you would see normally, such as direct mail marketing or avatar marketing. This is totally different, but very profitable. And the greatest thing about it is that there's literally, well, virtually almost zero expense in actually doing it. So before we get into the meat of this conversation, David, if you don't mind, kind of just introducing yourself to the audience and kind of describing our relationship.
Thanks. Absolutely. I've been an insurance agent for over 13 years now, sold tons of product, and kind of landed on final expenses where I wanted to really put my focus and energy on. And, I partnered up with Dave about a year and a half ago, and so far things are going really well.
Cool. Very good. So let's go ahead and start from the very top. What I'd like you to do on a very basic level, David, is just explain to the audience. Again, we're going to go into much more detail, but just to kind of give the audience an explanation of what this alternative marketing is and kind of how it works.
So this is some training I got from David specifically on marketing to seniors more than one at a time. So basically, if you think about how your day goes down, there's only so many hours in a day. And what if you could get in front of 10 to 15, as many as 20 qualified seniors at one time and do one presentation, and then just work with the people that are interested in working with you? And that's kind of what we figured out how to do.
Perfect. And if you kind of are connecting the dots here, by the way David's describing it, the what we're doing essentially is marketing in a mass level, or otherwise known as a seminar, and presenting final expense. Not just to one person, but to a group of people who fit the profile. Some of the advantages of this approach include, well, leveraging your time. You can pitch more people at once and, pick from the group those who are qualified and are interested in buying. And as you'll find shortly, it's almost virtually zero expense to do it. What I'd like, Dave, for you to do now is kind of, you've had some success doing this. I think you've had a lot of success. I'd like you to kind of give us the overall perspective of what goes into booking these seminars and then going through it. What's it like giving the seminars, and kind of just an overall type of experience doing it in the process of prospecting and actually presenting.
Absolutely. Well, we start with finding out where we're going to call these activity directors to really, and all this is including Dave's training, the script, and what kind of, places to look for. So, good news for me, I wasn't having to figure this all out all by myself. So, you really had to kind of set aside a day or at least an afternoon to just sit down and pound out somebody's calls and be organized, because a lot of these people are very busy. You're going to have to leave messages and emails. And what I ended up doing is doing an Excel spreadsheet where I could just really track who I talked to, what they told me. And then some of these guys are booked up a month ahead of time, so you kind of had to be willing to farm a little bit. This is more of a farming approach, and go ahead and be willing to do it a month from now. But that's okay, because in a month from now, you've got a rock solid appointment to see, like we said, 20 people at once. Now, that is the booking. Now, in terms of the seminar, there is a little bit of expense. I don't know what you want to do. One particular group wanted to do bingo, so I went to the dollar store and bought 20 $21 covers,
Yeah.
and a small giveaway. And that was fun. And then the others, we just brought some pizza. So looking at seminars were actually really low pressure. You really just need to speak clearly and have some control over, the phone call. And a lot of these activity directors, they have to find things for their population to do anyway. So realistically, it's not a big deal to call and ask for 15, 20 minutes of their time. We basically position ourselves as an impartial expert coming in to provide a service to their population and bringing something of value in giving with no basically expectation of, to make it clear that it's not something where you're going to be attacking their people, that it's all based on permission marketing, as is what
Right.
you would use. Right, Dave?
Absolutely. So here's something I'm curious about, and I can tell you this from personal experience. I always tell agents who say, oh man, I couldn't imagine selling or prospecting or showing up at somebody's door unannounced like, we do in our typical lead systems, which by the way, just work fine. I always tell people, look, I remember when I was a kid, I was a teenager, all I ever did was play video games. It's funny thinking about it. I was so scared to answer the phone or call people. I wouldn't even call up the pizza man to order pizza. I was just completely, in fear of any kind of potential confrontation, even if it was actually me placing the order, not even if the roles are reversed. And so where I'm going with this is that I've always been like that by design. I'm not a natural salesperson, and when I started doing seminars myself, my biggest fear was actually getting in front of people and speaking in front of them. It scared me to my core. I've always been afraid to give seminars, and I can tell you through personal experience, it's not nearly as bad as you think it would be. Like you said, you kind of come in there with this, role where you're the person giving information, so there's an authority type of built. So that's kind of what I was curious to hear your perspective on, David, is what really is it like in your experience to give these presentations? Are we talking to groups of dozens of people who are critical or mean-spirited, or is this really a low-key type of presentation?
Great question, Dave. And honestly, the first one I did, I was a little nervous because we have so many things in our mind we think are going to happen. And yeah, I was afraid of someone heckling me, which could potentially happen. But what I've found is that these are all, the greatest generation. Most of these people are very polite. They're actually very grateful that you came and brought them something of value and spent some time with them. So just right off the bat, there's really nothing to be afraid of at all. You do want to spend a minute practicing your presentation because you certainly don't want to have a lot of uhs and ahs, because the whole point is to really kind of engage their interest and kind of break through that sales resistance that everyone has. And, one thing I did learn early on is to come up with a pretty good joke to get them to laugh a little. And it's important to go ahead and get the activity director to introduce you as the expert, because
Right.
this is a little bit about positioning. We want to be positioned as the expert and as a guest. And those people, again, the activity directors have a lot of pull on these folks' opinion. So it's important in this process to make friends with this activity director. You want to, first thing is if you're bringing food, get them a plate of food or a slice of pizza and bring it to them. Make it clear to them that your relationship's important to them.
Right.
Because you're really cultivating a long-term relationship with that person. I had one person tell the audience, you need to listen to this guy. You need to be checking your insurance every 6 months. I've told you all that. And I'm going to keep this card. If you ever lose it and you want to talk to him, come talk to me. But I'm telling you, you all need to sit down. All of you sit down with this guy. And how great of a recommendation is that?
Pretty powerful endorsement, I'd say.
And that really came from me presenting myself as an expert who came to provide value, and also showing my license. I'll talk a little bit about my high points in my presentation here in a minute. But the main thing is keep it relaxed, keep it easy, going, tell a joke, and make it clear that you're there to be friends with them and to provide value, not to sell something.
So kind of building on what you're describing there, again, remember, in this conversation we're having, many people that are listening to this are inexperienced in final expense. Many have never sold anything. Some of them have sold the traditional ways of selling, which again are just fine, using lead programs. And so I'm sure there's a lot of curiosity by them and wanting to know, what are these prospects like? Who exactly are we speaking to, as far as on an income range and an age range? And then kind of building on that, how does the actual giving of a seminar actually position you as an expert, maybe even more so than in the way that just giving a one-on-one presentation does?
Partly, again, back to that positioning that when you get announced, it's important that that goes exactly that way, that you don't just start talking, that you're brought in as the expert. And in your presentation, you want to touch on some points that maybe they hadn't thought of before. Dave, in your training, we talk about making it clear the difference in term and whole life, and the reason that's important is when you mention Globe Life and AARP, some of the companies we know that market a term to age 80 product, some of them kind of perk up and they're like, oh, well, I have AARP.
Right.
Maybe you need to look at my policy. So give me specific reasons again why we're there and what we've done to help others in the community. It's the Me Too marketing, and giving social proof. So when you give a brief example of a case or a concept, let's say, then you give a case study of someone you just helped, just like them the other day. That could help to get their attention. But back to the profile, these are really the same people that we're going into homes to see. When I say homes, I mean in their residence.
Right.
We've just found a way to find an opportunity to talk to more of them at once. And so I would say some of them are health challenged and some of them are financially challenged. So it's important for your carriers that you have at least one that is going to be able to take on some adverse risk, and at least one that's going to be able to do the direct express billing for Social Security debit card.
Right, absolutely.
Because you're going to run into that business, and if you don't have a carrier for those, then you're going to have to walk away from it. And I would say a guarantee issue probably as well.
The one thing I found when I did seminars last year, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, I did probably about 70 or 80 total last year over a 4 or 5 month period of time. When I do something, I go all out, and that's a heck of a lot of seminars in a short period of time. But the one thing that I thought was cool is that anybody who gets up and speaks in front of people always has an assumed expert status. And it's one of those things really that's hard to get, even in a one-on-one sales position, because when you come in and you sit down in someone's residence, like you said, they know what this is about. You're going to try to sell them something. And so there's a bit of skepticism to begin with. Whereas if you get up in front of these people and educate them and lead with a value-driven approach, of course we do this when we sell. That's how I train agents to do. But the perception of it is different because, hey, you're brought in. This person introduced you that basically takes care of these people and helps them out. And so there's a different perspective from this, and I think it lends to again, by the time you actually sit down with these people and begin the process of writing them up, they already trust you. They already know and assume you're the expert. I mean, would you say that's more or less the case with you and your experiences, David?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It definitely shaved off some of the sales resistance to have that recommendation. Now, clearly we can't sell to everyone, and a lot of people are already covered. They're just there to eat your pizza and try to get the door prize. So
right.
There definitely is. But for the effort that we took to do it, and then the potential in the future, because all these people just, love what we did and said come back whenever you want to. So I see that as sort of a farming opportunity. Just like everybody, maybe some of these people are not ready now, and I see them 6 months later, and they say, "Boy, I'm sure glad you came by because I need your help with this."
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
And some of those individuals, they're also, they're going to take your card and be available to refer you to even new people to come in because there's potentially some turnover in some of these places we're working.
Let's get kind of down to some of the results. People want to know what they can get out of doing these seminars as far as financial return on their time and financial investment. What kind of results did you get over the seminars you had as far as how many applications you produced? If you've got premium numbers, that's great. If not, that's not a problem. But kind of what did you get from doing the seminars you did?
Well, I want to say that just like everything, some of them were really awesome and some were just okay.
Right.
And that's all just part of that process. And maybe the next time I do them, that one that was just okay will be terrific. So I would say that I averaged 2 to 3 policies per seminar I did. Because one I did, I wrote 5, and within 2 days it was incredible. It was
Wow.
great. And then another one I did, I got 2 or 3 sit downs that I either wrote business sit downs or wasn't able to close. So it's kind of come down a little bit to your skill and your follow up because some of these people will fill out the card to say that they're interested, and now they didn't sit down and make an appointment with you. Now you're back to chasing them on the phone and trying to get that sit because maybe they were interested in the moment, and now that they realize someone's after them to try to sit down, they run away from you. So, but absolutely overall, especially if you don't have a big budget or if you're struggling to have some kind of program, absolutely, I would recommend talking to David about this training and jumping in.
Well, and just for transparency purposes, and David, I really appreciate you going into details. This is extremely useful. David uses primarily at this point direct mail to do his business, but does the occasional seminar here and there. One of the challenges in the final expense business, whenever you recruit an agent or you get into this business, is that this is such a lead-driven business that 95%, probably 99% of the successful agents in this business are on direct mail, some kind of telemarketing lead. But there's a lot of agents that just don't have the money. They don't have the money to invest in a lead program. What seminar marketing does is that on its own, it's a great way to bridge the gap between not having money for leads and then within a couple of months self-funding a bankroll to get involved, whether it's avatar leads or direct mail leads. For the guy that wants to go out there like David and fight to see these people, fight to do these seminars, they're just sitting out there waiting to be called on, waiting to be talked to, waiting to be presented to. And like David indicated, they're full of people that fit our perfect demographic of buyers of final expense. But the other thing I'd like your opinion on, David, where I was going with this is, I mentioned that seminars, are great to get started, to bankroll to leads, but I'm curious, just for your insight, do you see the seminars as something that, if pursued on a full-time basis as the only way that you generate leads, can you see that as possibly being a successful full-time marketing model for the final expense business?
Oh, absolutely. I've actually have heard of some folks who do so well at it that all they do is just seminar marketing because just like when you had your season of doing 70 or 80, I imagine you, if you wanted to, you could just circle back at the end of 3 months and get them all again, right?
Oh, yeah. There's just like you found out, or speculated, there's easily the ability to go back and see these people I figured 6 months. I could have easily done it.
Right.
There's no perfect method. The biggest challenge with, again, y'all have to understand how I am. I'm a workaholic. I mean, I was doing 5 or 6 of these a week, and you have to travel to get to these places overnight. And, kids at home, wife at home, I just prefer to do direct mail. But beyond that, you can do 3 a week And like if you get 2 average per sale, that's 5 or 6 apps a week. I mean, that's on your way to a, high 5-figure, low 6-figure income, because there's just virtually no expenses, and you don't nearly have to travel as much, because many places have these locales to do the seminars all over the place, and they're within driving distance.
Right. So if someone were willing to expand on that idea and travel some, I think that potential is unlimited, really.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, very good. My final question for you is this, and I think you've kind of hinted around at this, if not flat out said exactly what I'm about to ask you, is kind of as we wrap up this call, why would you say overall seminars are a good marketing method to follow down? And then lastly, what kind of agent do you think would be the best to go this route?
The reason I'd say they're a good idea, again, is that because of the low cost. The type of agent would definitely need to be someone who's comfortable speaking in front of some people. Wouldn't necessarily need to be, a stand-up comedian, but you need to be comfortable with that process and maybe be able to field a few questions in terms of folks in the audience may have a question about a carrier, about a coverage. But overall, I mean, you can't mess it up, so there's nothing really that you can break in this process. So I wouldn't let any fear of performance or being in front of people hold you back. At the type of agent, I would say someone who likes people, someone who's comfortable with our demographics, who can really tap into the persona of someone who really genuinely cares about this population and is there to help them, not to sell them something. They really can feel that. So even if you really are desperately needing to sell something, you got to put that on the back burner and lead with your heart, and the rest of it will work itself out.
Well, David, first of all, I want to thank you so much for your time to do this seminar. I know you certainly didn't have to, and you're a very busy person with all that you're doing. So thanks for doing this. And then lastly, for you guys out there that are intrigued at this model of doing business and maybe want to learn more about specifically how to find these places, how to present, what to say, how to say it, how to generate leads, how to get in with these particular locations and secure the seminar, what to promote, how to promote it. This is something that I teach to all my agents who are interested in learning. It's such a great method, and I was even skeptical about it at first until I gave it a shot and kind of fine-tuned it to where my agents like David and another one down in Alabama, he wrote around 4,000 or 5,000 in business off of 3 or 4 seminars just in this first week. This model of marketing is fantastic, and if you like to present, like David said, if you really care about these people and want to do well and like the idea of not really spending a lot of money for leads, this is a really good way to learn how. And all you have to do to get more information on this is just contact me at my website, feagentmentor.com, and kind of inquire about possibly working with me and in order to utilize the system. So again, thank you so much, David, for your time, and thank you all out there for listening. Take care, okay?
Thanks, Dave.